Hi, I'm Ken Jacobson, and with me Coleman Casey. This is kind of a replay for us. We used to do reviews of classical music recordings for Connecticut Public Radio, a program called What's New, and both of us have been involved with the Hartford Symphony Orchestra for a number of years. We're here tonight to talk about the upcoming concert, two real chestnuts, this time the Dvorak Cello Concerto and the Sibelius Second Symphony, two of the great popular pieces in the orchestral repertoire. So we're going to make some recommendations if you're interested in getting even more familiar with this music, and maybe you want to pursue it a little further and get a recording. Maybe we can give you some helpful hints on where to go. Coleman, why don't you lead off?
Thank you, Ken. There are many recordings of both of these works, and the Dvorak Cello Concerto is the great cello concerto in the repertoire, right alongside the Elgar. I think critics, generally speaking, have recognized the great Rostropovich recording with Karajan and the Berlin Philharmonic on Deutsche Grammophon from the late 1960s as one of the greatest recordings ever of this work. It has been available continuously since the time it was recorded. The sound continues to be beautiful. It's very suave playing from the orchestra and very beautifully characterized from the soloist. And interesting, there's a kind of a rough meeting of these two great artists, Karajan being much more interested in beauty of presentation and Rostropovich much more interested perhaps in the characterization, and yet the two things blend so beautifully together.
That's a good segue into my recommended video recording of this great piece because it features the same magnificent cellist. This time, however, accompanied by Carlo Maria Giulini and the London Philharmonic Orchestra. And that recording, I think, is available on CD also.
Yes, EMI.
But it's a wonderful video recording, and you get to watch two absolutely superb musicians interact with each other, and it's just a wonderful performance.
And again, interesting that Giulini, much like Karajan, is interested in different kinds of feeling from the music than the soloist, and yet it works beautifully well. So can't go wrong with Rostropovich. I don't think he's the greatest or was the greatest.
I do have another favorite recording, and that, I still have the LP, which I had almost forgotten about. It's Jacqueline Dupre, a fantastic artist whose life was very tragically shortened by MS. But she partnered with her husband, Daniel Barenboim, in the Chicago Symphony, in one of the most riveting performances of the Dvorak that I've ever heard. And it's still available on CD.
It is.
Wonderful. It's a masterpiece.
Yeah, I think you can only get that on a boxed set of her great recordings, if I'm not mistaken.
I
think a single one may have disappeared.
I think I found it. There's still one that's still available.
Good.
So,
well,
in fact, I think it's coupled now. And the last time I checked at Archive Music, I think it's coupled with their performance of the Haydn Cello Concerto, a different orchestra.
Yeah, I have not heard that performance in years, but she certainly was a great performer.
I actually played the LP. I was amazed by how great it sounded. And, some people say that LPs are still the better.
Yes.
I don't agree with that, but LPs really have fantastic sound.
Yeah. So those of you with LPs at home, you could still listen to them and enjoy them, apparently.
So, any more, or should we move to
No,
Sibelius?
I think we've been to the mountaintop and seen the view with those two.
There's a lot of, obviously, a lot of recordings of the Sibelius Second, and I've actually got several recommendations. I don't know if I really have one favorite, and there's so many approaches to it. But let me mention a video performance to start, and that's with Leonard Bernstein with the Vienna Philharmonic. His tempos in the Sibelius are drastically slow.
Yes.
But the tension is unbelievable.
Yes.
And he does symphonies 1, 2, 5, and 7.
Yes.
And they're all magnificent and very, I guess, idiosyncratic in the slow tempos, but the tension and just the overwhelming musicality of the performances are magnificent.
Yeah, I have those on CD from Deutsche Grammophon. I've not seen the videos, but yes, those are great performances. Idiosyncratic, as you say, but a great musician performing a great work is always worth hearing, and those are certainly among those great performances.
Have you heard the new Osmo Vanska recording?
I have, yes, and He is not among my favorite conductors, I have to say. He's gotten a lot of wonderful press, but I don't feel that he measures up to the greatness of certainly someone like Bernstein.
I know that there have been a lot of reviews. It's available in a new recording on the BIS label
Yes.
with the Minnesota Orchestra in surround sound.
Yes.
What else would you?
Well, among the Sibelius second recordings, and as you say, there are dozens and dozens of these. It's a great masterwork. I have a particular fondness for any of the Barbarelli performances, either with the Halle Orchestra or the Philharmonia Orchestra or the Royal Philharmonic. He made several during his lifetime. He brings an Italianate warmth to these northern masterpieces and a volatility in the playing that sets them apart from the usual performances you hear. And he was a great Sibelius conductor. He recorded the full, made recordings of all 7 symphonies. There's a wonderful box set of them from EMI on CD. And so utterly different from the Bernstein. Tends to be much faster, perhaps more volatile as a result, and but passionate in a different way from the Bernstein. So.
Sir Colin Davis has had a career in Sibelius too. He's done them more than one cycle.
Right, and to me, it's a puzzlement to me as the King of Siam said, as to why Davis's recordings are so well received. I have all of them, and I keep listening to them thinking, I'm going to hear something in these I love, but I fail to. I don't know whether you like them better.
Yeah, I like some of them. And there's a new one with the LSO Orchestra on its own label in surround sound. I have not heard it. One of my favorite, possibly my favorite Sibelius interpreter is Pavel Berglund.
Yes.
And he's done them several times, and there's a recording in surround sound of the 2nd and 7th symphonies on EMI, which I think is just absolutely superb. You really get the structure of the music along with the overall passion.
And he just passed away, so this is a reason to honor Berglund by buying one of his recordings. I agree, and he's a Finn, so he ought to know how it goes. So those would be our recommendations for the upcoming concerts, and again, you can't go wrong, I think, with any of these great conductors.